And the second storyteller is no less important. She is Yvonne Thomas, and she's from DTG. And I'd like to give the floor to Yvonne Thomas, our next SMPTE storyteller.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to tell you a story about being a millennial in the media industry. I thought when I was asked to tell a story, why not doing this actually as being a millennial myself? I can't see everyone here in the room, but maybe a hands up who is a millennial. 1, 2, 3. Right. Great. So still, it's not much in the SMPTE, and I think we need to increase the involvement of younger people as well. So maybe some of you consider as being a millennial, even though you're not. But at the end, when we talk about millennials, what does it actually mean? It just means the way we consume content, the way we deal with social media, how we interact actually with other people and the society. So isn't it actually exactly what we are in our industry? We want to provide information, we want to provide content to all the people who want this information and the content. So it's just a different way of consumption. So that's why I'm very happy to work in this industry and just, enrich it with my own experience. So I think I've been always very lucky because my family consisted of technical people, engineers as well, so they've been always very, let's say, tech savvy. Besides my mom, I think she's the only one who's really not into this area, and she thinks her television is broken just because there's a black picture on the wrong input. You know, these things happen. But my family got the first family PC at home, very early 90s. So I've been born in the mid of 80s. So I was still very small, but even though I remember when I was so small that the world was kind of analog and you just met friends by saying, we'll meet you then and then, without writing a WhatsApp or a text message or anything. But I was very, very quickly into this technology-driven world suddenly. So we got our first PC for the entire family. We got our internet connection very early. And I even got my very first phone when I was, I think, 11 or 12 years old, so quite early. And the years before, we even had a family phone, this huge Siemens, bulky phone that just existed. So very, very quickly with the internet, social platforms came up, and there have been various that don't exist anymore today. But really at school, it was a very, very, important instrument for me also to socialize and to know what's ongoing. Today we have other platforms, of course, but it was just a start and very similar to what we have today. For me personally, I, on a daily basis and even, on an hourly basis, use WhatsApp to communicate, but also use Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, just to know what's ongoing. And for me, this is just a routine and just normal business. I use LinkedIn for the professional communication and also to gather information, what's ongoing, what do people think, what they have in mind, what they like to share. And I even use those social platforms to plan my leisure time, to organize holidays. So it's not those traditional platforms anymore that I use, but I gain a lot of information and content from there and can really benefit from the experience others have done, or not to fall into the same traps or mistakes, to travel somewhere where it's not nice, and those kind of things, and just helps me to organize my daily life as well. So overall, I'm very open-minded to any kind of communication platform, besides all those social media platforms. There's of course WhatsApp and Skype and all these tools as well. So at work, I communicate in different ways with people, and it very much depends. Is it a younger person who's also a bit tech savvy? Is it an older colleague who really wants to stick to his one platform? And I think we need this flexibility so that we can adapt to everyone and choose the right platform for the way we communicate and transport information. So for a quick note, WhatsApp is perfectly fine, but if you want to send me a presentation, want me to look at it and work on it, then of course I prefer an email to have on my laptop to properly work. It really, really depends to think what kind of information I share on which kind of platform. In my private life, I hardly use a laptop anymore. To be honest, it's there, it's 4 years old, it works, but it's very hardly switched on because I have my phone, I have my tablet, and I can do basically everything through apps. And so a laptop is just fine for work, but otherwise this is even a dad device for me. Also, I'm considering content consumption. I do have also an Amazon account, but also a Netflix account. But what I don't do, and apologies if there's somebody from Netflix in the room, but the experience to search for something, on your telly is just an awful experience. So to really type each single letter and, navigate. I don't know if you have the same experience, but it's, yeah. It's just not the experience I like to have. So what do? I take my phone and my tablet, which is much, much nicer and more intuitive, and I create actually my own personalized playlist, and I bet some of you do as well. You just go there, browse quickly all the trailers, add it to your playlist, and I've created my own personal Yvonne channel, basically. So that's what happens. And then I can go to the television and just open my playlist and just select from there, so whatever I like. So just saying these kind of things, I think they mix up from the experience of also younger people, but also older people, and probably we all share similar experiences at least. For me, it was always at work also very, very important to have a very open relationship with my peers and with my bosses as well, through communication tools, whatever everybody fancies, but also the way we communicate and improve things. A very important factor is being here and talking to you and knowing you have something to tell to those people here in the room. It's probably as hard as it might be for some of you from the older generation to understand how we millennials think or act. So it's in both ways, and to bring both worlds together, I think that's the essential part, also what we should be doing here at SMPTE, to increase the involvement of the young people. So there is a bit of this mentorship, and I think this topic has been brought up a couple of times, but still it's very important that as a young person you have somebody who takes your hand and shows you the business, how the industry is working, get to introduce you to people and explaining new topics you can have a discussion with, and so on and so on. So there is Hans, I see you in the room. So Hans was my first boss, actually. So I think on a very informal basis, we did this kind of mentorship, not knowing that we did that, but I was very happy and lucky to have always a boss that supported me and that believed in my strength and that I could grow. Of course, a couple of years ago when I came into the industry, I wasn't well known, I was, unsecure, I didn't know what to do, just finished my studies and wasn't, was just new, and so it doesn't feel very comfortable, and that happened to all of us here. So once in your life, you just start your career. So it needs this one person that just takes you on board and trusts in you and gives you room really to strengthen your skills and to always improve. So probably the next time you register for this conference or for any other event, why don't you go to a younger colleague and just ask whether they want to join you and just get them with you so that they are also taken into the industry. So everybody will be so pleased about it. Nobody needs to be afraid of it. So I think even though we talk about the older generation and the younger generation, whether it's being the millennials or Gen X and Gen Z, and so all these generations, it doesn't really matter, because at the end we all want to achieve the same results, and we can do it together. So having people who are very experienced, like here in this room, there's an amazing amount of experience and knowledge, and we can all benefit from this. And then younger people who bring some probably more new ideas and just interact with technology in a very different way. It's just the perfect combination to move on, right? I've had a professor at university, he was quite old, but he was very insisting to teach us how analog technology works, because he said, you need to understand that in order to understand digital technology. Is this where it all comes from? And there are reasons for this. So I think this synergy is really, really good. But still, considering that it's also very difficult for us just being here and doing the best that we can to move this industry forward. So now, as a millennial, I am in an age, or most of us are in an age where we've mostly settled. So we have our jobs, we have a salary, we might have built a house already, might have family. So I think we're at an age where we think twice before we do something in a reasonable way, but also where we like to create value as well. So it's not just about, I want to consume content, I just want to have fun. This is not what it's about, but everything I ever hated was to do work that's meaningless and it's just a waste of time. So besides all these fancy new things and apps and that might look meaningful or not to some of you, but I always wanted to have a value of whatever I do. I now work in the IP TV area, so in broadband, which is then the next step to broadcast. So, just saying this, I like to strengthen the idea of a mentorship. Really think of your younger colleagues, if they might benefit from an information, from being taken to an event, introduced to somebody who your younger colleague can talk to also gather information and so on. Or maybe it's being yourself who could be a mentor, really, to a younger colleague, in a formal or an informal way. So I've been in a mentorship for the last year, so I've been the mentee, obviously, and it was just an open relationship saying, well, we exchange views and that's it. So it was just in a very, very casual way to talk about the daily business and what's happening and what drives us, and that's it. But it really, really helped a lot. So overall, what I think to be in this industry today, I'm asking myself whether it is even possible to become an expert on a specific topic. I think in the older days it was much more focused, but now that technology in the world is moving so fast, once you've been in a technology, it will be old again. So you're moving to the next one, or it has evolved very rapidly. So for me, it's an open question whether we have to be generalists for all our lives, because also technology has become much more of a black box. So we just take it, we use it, and this is what happens now with all the technologies like the cloud especially, where we just like to use those services. At the end, we don't care how that works and how it runs. We just want to be sure we can use it whenever we need it, you know, at a specific price, at a specific security aspect, and those kind of things. But at the end, we're not bothered by how those services being operated. And we just take it and use it. So that's still an open question for me in life, and I hope I can find out. I definitely consider myself working in the media industry, not in the broadcast industry. It really has changed, and broadcast has become part of media. Likewise as, I mean, it's all content consumption. Likewise as even cinema is just content, it's media. Like social media is part of it, like YouTube. So this is all just part of the media world. And I think considering this is becoming huge, really, while broadcast has been much more of a smaller industry, this is where we should be going. And that's it from my side. I just want to inspire a little bit of saying, here are younger people, talk to us, get a different view on things maybe, or, you know, also don't be afraid to ask questions to us, because as I said, it might be as hard for us as well to be here. So thank you. So I don't know if there's time for questions, or, yeah. If there are questions, I'll be also here until Wednesday. No. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to thank Yvonne. That was very nice. Thank you. That was very informative. I actually remember you, I think, on your first SMPTE, and I'm so happy to have you as a colleague now within SMPTE. So thank you.